Traders, hello. Episode 34 of Trade Talk. Connor, afternoon, sir.
Scotty, man of the hour, how are you?
Look, I'm not too bad, and we've got the S&P 500 up, guys. And before we go into discussing the trade that I've got going, just a quick risk disclaimer. I've remembered it straight away. Look, Connor and I present views and opinions on the market. It's just for educational purposes. It's not for financial advice. So if you are looking to trade or invest or put your money into Forex, please be very careful. Learn risk management, and don't really risk real money until you've got a good system. You've back tested. We'll show you how to download an example of a backtesting program called Forex Tester. So please be very careful. This is not financial advice. So it's just Connor and I discussing our views on the market. So that's the risk disclaimer, guys. Okay. So Connor, S&P 500. I mean, just looking at this chart here, what's your sort of take on things? What would you say we could see in the next month or so?
It's one of the only good long-term or longer-term trends at the moment.
Yeah.
Here. It's got some higher highs, higher lows, if you can just point those out.
Yep.
But it's had a fair rally sort of up.
Mm.
It looks like it's exhausting. The trend is your friend, apparently. So it could just keep going. It's at like you were saying before. It's at record highs.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So, and like you mentioned, that I got in at 2,560.3 on the 4-hour chart. You can see you've got like a kangaroo tail style looking one, and then like a small bullish candle. On the 4-hour, this would be about 8 candles from the previous candle. That was my entry. And then it sort of shot up, and now it's sort of doing a little bit of a fade out. So I've got a trend line.
You're only interested in the technicals. You're not interested in the fundamentals.
Yeah. So it was, and it's quite adventurous me trading this because obviously I haven't back tested it. So I don't really know the characteristics of this. And like you said as well, my expectation is for it to come down a little bit. The stop loss is down at 2,551, and that might be too tight. I'm not sure. I've got the trend line going through here, and that's going to be at the mid 2,500s, about 2,556. If this can come down and then have another bounce, it might hopefully take off again. But like you said, I mean, in the context of the situation, it's probably overextended. Like on the daily chart, it's very
and who knows?
Yeah.
Read into these. I think you can read into the technical. That people are very good at reading the technicals. I'm not as much. I think that there's a certain amount of randomness to the markets. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like people can pretend that they read all these great technical analysis candles, or they have their oscillators or whatever.
Yeah.
It comes down to your management of the trade, to me.
Yeah.
So whether you can get in, hold your grit, and just let it go to where you've decided where you're going to get out. You should be okay. In the long run, anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
About that. You might look at the markets a bit differently to me.
No, when I sort of put the trade in, I always look at the stop loss and think, okay, that's what I'm willing to risk, and I don't. And I sort of, if it goes into profit, that's sort of a bonus, really. So, especially with a trade like this, because if you do look into the context a bit, which I shouldn't really because I'm a technical guy, but there's probably a 50-50 chance that this will definitely retrace heavily, but it sort of kept going. So we'll see on this, but that will be weighing on my mind. If it gets to about a 1R, I'll be definitely moving the stop loss pretty quickly to just to protect things.
I mean, you threw that comment on the wayside, the 50-50, but just say you have a risk to reward is 1.5.
Yeah.
2. I think people throw around this 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio, but just in my experience, I found it very hard to get 2 to 1. You know what I mean? Like getting 2 to 1 as a goal is quite a challenging thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen a lot. I find 1-to-1 is more realistic.
Yeah.
And then occasionally you might get, ones that go up, But what would you say? Would you say 1-to-1? I mean, people.
Yeah, that's realistic.
Never hear it recommended 1-to-1, because if you're getting 50% wrong, then you've just broken even.
Yeah.
2-to-1. If you do 2-to-1 on your back testing, I don't seem to reach 2-to-1 a lot.
No, it doesn't. It's like once it gets over about 1.5, majority of the time it retraces and then hits your trailing exit or your. Yeah, it does. So.
And that's the whole idea with these trends when you hear about, like Sakota. Ed Sakota was a great trend trader, and he talked about getting whipsawed. And he has that song. Have you heard the Ed Sakota song?
No, I didn't know he had a song. How about that?
I have to sing it to you. I have to send it to you. But it says, you get a whip, I get a saw, and then it says one good trend pays for them all. So he's obviously gets whipsawed out of his trends a lot, and then he just holds on to dear life.
That was like the I'm reading the Turtles, one of the Turtle books, and how they got taught, and the win rates are very low. But when they do have a winner, it'll be like a 10-to-1 or more, and that's the key. So it's hard to actually be a really good trend trader. That just sort of
just that they're holding their grit.
Yeah,
and, they have a lot better grasp of these good guys than us, but they know that sometimes they just have to hold on and ride the tiger. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They can't know everything.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it just seemed the win rates. The more risk to reward you want to go for, that drops the win rate considerably, because you try and get in on like an early trend. And a lot of those will just peter out and reverse again. So the take-home message is that if you want to really be a really legitimate trend trader who goes for the big risk to rewards, you're going to have like a pretty bad win rate, because a lot of the time you'll get in too early, which is
There's a saying: if you got tomorrow's news today. You'd still lose money, because you wouldn't know when and where to get in.
That's right.
You know that it was going to here, but getting in at that stage, well, who knows? So if someone said, "Oh, it's going up such and such," well, unless you knew when and where to get in, you'd still find a big challenge.
Yeah.
To get all that, get all those profits.
That's right. Now, also, guys, I've got the Twitter page up here as well, so you can follow the page. We put a lot of stuff up, potential trade ideas that we're looking at, backtesting examples, videos of how to use, backtesting software and things like that. So that's the handle, Trade Talk Pippin. And while I'm talking backtesting, and Connie, you've had some progress in your backtesting as well, which is fantastic to hear. And guys, the link is in the description section. Halloween special, thanks to Forex Tester. So I don't dictate how much you save, but it's normally 30 and now it's 70. So $229, and you would probably attest to this sort of software being value for money, Connor.
Yes, I've spent, I've saved a lot.
You do, yeah.
Especially when you're first beginning, and you can get really itchy feet with the wanting to be in the market, because that's how you learn.
Yeah.
However, you will get your fingers burnt, and then once you get this sort of software, you realise you can just binge for the first month or so, can't you?
You can, yeah.
Yeah. And then you start to work out strategies, and then you start to work out sort of you start to respect your statistics and what matters and what doesn't statistically. So yeah, it's good.
That's right. And you're currently doing a project on pancaking and sort of taking profits at different zones, and is that going well for you?
Yes. Yeah, I've found that's a little bit more profitable. I've found that, so for me, just in my back testing, just saying the last year, it's not that I've learned to get a higher win rate or that this candle works at, I'm just starting to just really try and squeeze the money out of the situations, out of the trades that I think are going to work.
Yeah.
So before I'd only get a 1-to-1 or something like that. Now with the pancaking, I can get I can start to get pretty high. I can get like a 4% increase on my profits instead of that 2% or that 1% I was getting.
Yeah, that's right. We've got a little bit of time left. Now, I know this is a hot topic, Bitcoin, and I can just discuss this briefly. So for people looking to buy Bitcoin, what I will say is always risk money that you're willing to lose, because, or that you don't rely upon to pay, essential living expenses, because as you can see, Bitcoin can have some very big bearish candles, of several hundred, of $300. So what I would say is you'd probably want to wait for it to get over 6,000 and then consolidate. Because currently, right now, you saw the chart, didn't you? Kind of obviously on the line chart. Yeah. So if you had like $10,000 and someone said, like you can do whatever you want with it, but you sort of have to buy Bitcoin, when would you sort of wait to execute?
I wouldn't buy Bitcoin.
So you'd say, like, have the air. Look, I mean, it is tough because people that I know that actually own the currency, the cryptocurrency, are sort of saying that there is going to be a pullback, and they're sort of braced for that. So you have to have a certain risk appetite to trade this sort of currency, because it can really, it can be very volatile. So if you see your money bouncing around in positive, negative, and negative, and negative, it's you can really close out thing, and then it might just go straight back up again, and then you might add more money, and so it can get quite ugly quickly. So please be very careful with this sort of currency. I mean, you can make money, but definitely be careful. And that's probably wrapping the episode up, really, of just being careful when trading. Would you sort of agree to that, Connor?
Myself.
All right, guys, thank you for watching episode 34. Connor, thanks for joining us. And happy trading, everyone.